Rebic, Rafa, tira, gol! Rafael Leao! Oggi segna Leo! La mia giornata è iniziata così! Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Fisher, joined once again by a concussed Anthony Torgrew.
Yeah, emphasis on that. I don't know. My headache is miserable, so people in the comments are probably going to correct me. Just talking before we started recording, I mixed up both games like 8 times, so this is going to be interesting. But I'm here, I'm happy, and yeah.
So they'll correct you, so it'll just be a normal week, right?
Yes, but this time I have an excuse.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Set your stall out nice and early. And that's if we don't manage to correct you first. But then again, you know, my memory's a bit hazy on a couple of the games as well. So this is perfect, isn't it? You know, new year. We've got 2 games to recap. We've got 2 wins to recap. We've got 6 goals to talk about. It's good. It's a good start to the year. You know, I think the way that we ended 2021 with that win against Empoli, which was a nice high to go into the Christmas break. And then the way we went into that Roma game, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're in crisis again. Everyone's got COVID. The plans are disrupted. And, you know, I wasn't expecting to be recording this episode with us having won the 2 games as convincingly as we have done. And yet here we are to talk about them. So we'll start with the Roma one. This one we were meant to be at. I'm going to put the graphic on.
Both of them we were meant to be.
Yeah, we were meant to be at both of these games. The less said, the better. A lot of bureaucracy in there, and a lot of debatable decisions, etc. But yeah, we weren't in the end at either of them. Thought AJ was going to do a solo trip at one point, but it didn't end up happening, and I totally don't blame you for that at all.
I do.
Bit of a night. Oh, you do.
All the events that have transpired at home since then. Yeah, I made the wrong choice.
Okay.
It's been a week.
Fair.
Well, yeah, I guess you wouldn't have fallen on ice because it would have been the day after you left.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, that's put a bit of a downer on things now. I admit that we were meant to be there for this, but you know, I'm just happy that we got the win in this one. I don't know why it feels nice to have done I do know why. Obviously, he used to coach Inter, and he's had some pretty disparaging things to say about us after the game. But it does feel that bit sweeter to have done a double over a Jose Mourinho side, a Roma side that are in a bit of a meltdown at the moment. Let's face it. I mean, AJ, you predicted them to finish 8th this season. I think.
And where are they at in the table at the moment?
Yeah, stop the count.
Okay. Yeah.
I think some people thought that was a little bit of a sort of, you know, performative exaggeration, but no, they do seem to be the 8th best team in the league at the moment. So you've got to take that at face value. They lost again, having bottled a 3-1 lead against Juve yesterday. We're recording this on Monday. But yeah, Milan, we dispatched of them pretty comfortably in the end. And I think that considering in the 48 hours leading up to the game, we found out that there were COVID cases. And then we had to do another round of tests to make sure that those players who were negative were still negative. It then transpired after the players had their identities withheld for whatever reason. I don't really know. I guess that's so they can wait for PCRs to come back to confirm it and stuff. But we then found out that it was Fikayo Tomori, Alessio Romagnoli and Davide Calabria who were all out with COVID, in addition to Tatu Rusanu, who had been confirmed earlier in the week. Not ideal to find out.
Castillejo as well.
Yeah. Not ideal to find out that 24 hours before the game we're going to have to throw Gabia and Kalulu out there as a centre-back pairing. But that's what ended up happening. And I guess, yeah, it was all right. You know, I guess attack is the best form of defence in this case. And we set the tone early, a couple of early goals, and it was all right from there.
Yeah, just to touch on those cases, the reason that they withheld identities is because in Italy, if you are confirmed positive, then you have a mandatory 10-day government-sponsored quarantine. Mm-hmm. And with us having 2 games in 3-4 days at the time, plus another game on Thursday, that would have been potentially 3 games they'd miss. So by withholding their identities, they have the opportunity to get a second test, and if it's negative, then they're good to go. Mm-hmm. Now, that didn't happen, so I'm assuming they're still out. They got their quarantine at this point. I don't know if it's been released. It's pretty obvious. I don't know if they're tracking them down or how the system works over there in that aspect, but that is why they withheld. So kind of get it. Tatu Rusanu didn't, so he figured, whatever. Like, I'm not playing anyways. It's all good. But yeah, what a interesting squad to have called up. A lot of names that nobody had seen before, ever. And And yet it worked. Giroud scored in the 8th minute with a penalty. It was a Teo shot that looked to be going towards goal, and then it looked like it just drifted wide. Upon further review, it deflected off Tammy Abraham's arm. Penalty. Roma was furious. We were happy. Scored it, and then
one Roma fan in particular was pretty furious with some of the decisions made. Yeah.
So
and then the
the
next
ref
one
was suspended, right, or demoted or something after this game?
No, so that's
That was
something
totally
that
made
the same said Roma fan was spreading that was originally published by Roma Press, which is essentially the SempreMilan of Roma, except we don't make shit up like that. So
Okay.
yeah, they just made it up and said he was suspended, and he wasn't at all.
Because I was gonna say I don't
Venezia
remember
came out
any
and said
like
no.
really controversial calls unless they thought the PK call was too controversial.
Yeah, they didn't suspend him, so he's
No,
still
the
doing
one
his
thing
thing.
that there was the Roma-based newspaper Corriere dello Sport, or was it Corriere? One of the two said that there wasn't a big enough deflection off Abraham's arm for it to be called a penalty. Now, that's just completely wrong, because if you see the right camera angle, the ball glances off sort of the side of his elbow. Not only is there a clear deflection from that angle, but he also deflects it straight onto the keeper's hands. Like, that's where he's dived,
Yeah.
It might have been a different outcome to the shot if he hadn't have done it.
Well, and that's a strange argument anyways. It doesn't matter how much the ball is deflected. If your arm's like this and it hits your arm,
it was silly from him. It was very silly from him and naive and just not what you want in the 8th minute of a game where getting the first goal is going to be crucial against our makeshift defence. They gave us the momentum then, and it was very silly.
Yeah, and then the second goal was another poor giveaway. I can't remember if it was their center back going to the right back or if it was the
centre back going back to keeper. Ibanez tried to just sort of roll it back to the keeper. He just undercut it a little bit. I mean, if he just puts a bit more pace on that ball, no doubt Patricio swings his leg through it and there's no problem at all. But good anticipation by Giroud, I will say that, to nip in. And he should have scored it himself, to be honest.
Hit the inside or outside of the post, deflected, and then my boy Macias gets his 4th one.
How's that bet looking?
Come outside, Isaac. I just want to talk.
Bing bong.
Bing bong.
Yeah. That was a good finish as well, by the way. I think a lot of people, given how emphatically he struck it into the bottom corner, I think a lot of people thought it was an easy finish. And for a professional footballer, don't get me wrong, it is an easy finish. But at the same time, there was a man there on the line. Like, he had to put it in the bottom left corner. First time, he just stepped up and did it. And I love that it was a bit of a subdued celebration from everybody. Everyone was like, this is like a cup game against a team the division below. We should probably not over-celebrate too much. And then bit of a scare. Tammy got that goal back before half-time. The warning signs were there because what led to the corner was actually a shot from, I believe it was Mkhitaryan, that skimmed off the head of Abraham, and then Mignon produced an amazing save.
Double save, wasn't it?
To readjust his body.
I think it was a double save, yeah.
Or was that another
corner? That was a different one.
Yeah,
that man had so many saves. He
did,
phenomenal.
yeah, and we'll come on to that in the tops and flops. But
we know who his top is.
Yeah, I've got it already penned in there. And yeah, corner cleared out, but Bam deflected shot in off Abraham with a flick, and then I don't know. That was in the 40th minute, so we had 5 minutes to just sort of get through to the break, and we did it. And then second half, I was expecting a lot more from Roma than what ended up coming.
Really?
We've shown a little bit of frailty. I thought that they would realise that, there was a little bit of doubt that had perhaps crept in, given our makeshift defence and stuff like that. But we played really well. We controlled the game very, very well. And I think the turning point in the game was bringing on, for the last quarter of the game, that Leao substitution, bringing him on.
And Zlatan.
And yeah. I mean, he played a big hand in the third goal with that fantastic first touch, and then Leao with a fantastic bursting run down the middle and a composed finish, and bang. It should have been 4. It could have been 5 or 6. There were a couple more missed opportunities.
I think we hit post twice, or was that in the Venezia game?
Brahim Diaz hit the crossbar with that shot from outside the box. And then the penalty that was missed at the end. I mean, Ibra will not be taking those anymore, I don't think. That's 6 out of 11 that he's missed now.
I think it's 5 in a row too, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not ideal. He always goes the same way. He
It's
always
always
goes
bottom
the same
left.
way. I said at the time, I said he's going bottom left and he's going to miss this because
Yeah, as soon as
you
he
know.
stepped up for it, I actually didn't think we were getting it, which is never a
Yeah.
good feeling.
So yeah, I mean, oh God, what do we take from that? Roma are really poor. They need something to happen there. I mean, you think of Mourinho's side, you think of them being defensively sound, and they're going to try and hit you on the counter. This team can't defend, and they can't really score when they need to either.
Yeah, they let 4 goals. Well, I mean, this is not the Sempre Juve podcast, but that Juve game this weekend was crazy.
Yeah, it was a fantastic game.
Yeah, honestly, that was a lot of fun
Best
to
I've
watch.
seen in a long time.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they look. I know that's like Mourinho's thing is being defensive, but if you look at it, he hasn't really been a top level manager since his second stint at Chelsea. I mean, he went to United and yes, won Europa League and finished second. And in hindsight, that's really impressive given that squad.
Biggest achievement in management, he said.
That's funny because that's just a pure burn to United.
Yeah.
Even Zlatan said something like this current United squad is better than the one he had, but the difference is he won something. So, and you're right, that is what matters at the end of the day. But to bring it back to Mourinho, he was never good at Spurs. He was never going to be good at Roma either. I mean, he hasn't. I just think the game's evolved so much past the way he used to play. I mean, at the time, he wasn't even revolutionary at his peak, but it was just so well drilled and he had the right players and it worked. So, maybe if he had very, very specific players, he could pull that off. But it was never going to be that way at a club like Roma.
It's funny you say that about sort of specific players. I think
I had high hopes for him, just saying, at Roma.
Well, I think that coming back to Italy was meant to be his comfort blanket because this is supposedly to the outside world a slow league, where the build-up play can be laboured and you can put men behind the ball and you can hit quick break. And then he's come here and perhaps found out that the league's evolved quite a lot since the last time he was here and his tactics are no longer cutting it. And, when you concede 6 against Bodo Glimt, the warning signs are probably there that if a team comes at you with pace and technique, then they're in trouble. And you think about how does he put his stamp on that squad? And you see Ainsley Maitland-Niles as the first January signing, and you think, oof, that's a little bit underwhelming. They need a bit more quality in the middle of the park, and they probably need another centre-back, given the amount that they're leaking goals. But anyway, that's Roma's
I do think Tammy Abraham has been a really good signing. We should always in the right spot, and he's got great instinct to finish. So, good for him. No, I don't want him on my team, though.
I'd take him.
Why? Too many English. Brexit tax.
Yeah, we'll
one thing I do want to talk about before we do tops and flops is Roma's discipline was pretty bad.
Yes,
they just set about kicking lumps out.
They got 2 reds, right? Yeah. Mancini had one, and was it Karsdorp? Yeah.
Karsdorp, yeah. So Zaniolo got one in the opening 20 minutes. Yellow card, this is.
Oh, okay.
Then Karsdorp got one. Then Pellegrini. Karsdorp got sent off. Mancini again. So that's 7 separate bookings. Yeah, not great. So I think, again, another stereotype of Mourinho's side is that they're quite well drilled and they're quite concentrated. This is a team that are just like, what the hell are we doing? Let's just kick lumps out of Leao because we can't stop him. And
that's how the first leg ended as well. Remember when we were up so high and then at the last second, for no reason, Zaniolo just chops Tonali's legs.
I mean,
what they do.
Yeah.
There's no discipline, and it's because their manager is just, he can't take any responsibility for his team and what goes on, so he just cries and complains and blames everyone but himself. And you see it emanating out of the fan base. You see it emanating out of the players. I mean, it's just the whole city's in shambles, and I couldn't be prouder to have no association with it.
Nice way to lump Lazio into it as well there, because they're also in shambles. So we'll talk about the Mourinho comments. You alluded to it there and pretty much touched on what I was going to say. Typical crybaby stuff, coming out and questioning the referee when, if anything, I think they were lucky not to get red cards sooner, or at least yellow cards leading to red cards sooner. And also he said that he couldn't be happier to have rejected Milan 3 years ago.
Yeah,
and just salty.
Exactly. That's what it is. I know
to say.
He's obviously got his history at Inter, so if you want to play that up, sure. But then you see, he abandoned Chelsea to go both United and Spurs, so he obviously doesn't have loyalty to his former clubs.
said he had to think for days and days about it. So there's your loyalty to Inter.
I'm super happy he didn't say yes. Honestly, if anything, thank you. Like,
whole thing smacks of insecurity to me. Like, why do you have to come out and say you're very happy to have rejected a team that's just slapped your
when
team
you're
twice
at Roma in 8th place
and you're 7 places below? Yeah, it's anyway. That's that. So top and flop for this one. I've already said basically, and I think this was Maignan best game since returning from injury. His hands looked strong, his handling was good, he made smart reaction saves, his distribution was really good as well. That was nice to see. He got an 8 in our player ratings, and I think, as I say, he was man of the match for me.
This one's tough for me because first instinct is to say Teo, but I think that's going to be better served for the Venezia game. Since becoming captain, he's been a baller. I know it's only 2 games against low-level teams, but still, he's been fantastic. So I like that. I think Florenzi had a good couple performances lately.
Florenzi looked great against Roma, I will say.
Yeah, he did. I don't know who I want to pick. I mean, I don't want to pick Maignan, but I do. So maybe I just go with.
Yeah,
you know what? Well, no, I don't want to say Giroud because he just scored a penalty and missed.
I thought Giroud had a good game. Actually,
he did.
I will say that. I thought that was his most involved that he's been since he came back from the back problem. He looked to be a bit more getting around. I think the Christmas break's done a lot of players a lot of good, including Teo and Brahim. Even Brahim had a bright first half in this and then tailed off a bit since. But yeah.
I don't know. I'll just go Maignan
as well.
Yeah.
Maignan, fair. Flop, then. This is a tough one because it was a controlling performance. There was nobody in particular that had a howler, like an error leading to a goal or anything like that. I'm just looking at our player ratings, which is cheating, but when it's like a few days ago, I can't really think.
Ibra, he missed the penalty.
Assist.
He missed the penalty.
I'm not giving it to Ibra, but I could understand. Okay, so that's you. You're locked in with Ibra. I'm going to say Salah because
that's who I was going to say.
Didn't have much of an impact, and he got dispossessed a few times, and he looked frustrated in this, and that carried over into the Venezia game. Do remember a couple of times when he lost the ball and threw his arms about a bit as if to say, "Come on." So that might be a good sign. The more charged up he is, hopefully, the better he plays. But yeah, I'll go with him. And
I think
you agree.
Yeah.
Great. So we can move on. Venezia, as I say, another game we were meant to be at. This was fantastic. One thing I will say is that the pictures that were coming out from before the game with the Curva Sud on the boat over to the island, because they literally play on an island stadium, looked fantastic. Unsafe, incredibly unsafe. But that's it, innit? It's what football's all about. And it's a nice stadium there. Now they've renovated it as well. It was good to see all our fans behind the goal. I was actually having a little bit of a break for this, so I had to watch the game on my phone while walking around shops in Brighton. But yeah, I managed to see both goals because I was tuned in for sort of the first 50 minutes or so. First goal after 2 minutes was a really nice way to set the tone again. If there's been some signs this season, such as the Roma game and the Juve game, that Venezia can cause problems for teams that are sort of in and around those European spots. And that might have given us an element of doubt, especially given that Kalulu and Gabia were a tad shaky against Roman at times. The early goal was a perfect way to dampen any nerves, and it was just very, very straightforward. Leao gets in behind, slides it over to Zlatan, who has now scored for the 23rd calendar year in a row. The other
24.
Two players to do that...
No, yeah, 23, you're right.
The other 2 players to do that are Francesco Totti and Ryan Giggs.
No, it is 24.
I got 23.
Well, 22 to bring us to 2022, the year 2000 itself, and then 99. Or am I just counting twice? I don't know. I'm concussed. I swear it's 24, but I don't know.
Someone will correct one of us in the comments.
Whatever. He scored a lot.
The newspaper
4 decades.
said 23, but it might be, I don't know. Yeah, it's incredible. It's an incredible statistic. And in doing so, he also scored against his 80th different opponent in the top 5 European leagues. And Cristiano Ronaldo is the only other player to do that. I know there's some debate about what a top 5 league is, but we'll have it. We'll take anything. Every goal that Zlatan scores, and that was, I believe, his 6th of the year. I'm going to have to quickly Google it. But
6 or 7.
Every goal that... Oh, my God, it was his 8th. Sorry. Excuse me, Zlatan, because I know you're watching. Every goal that he scores, he seems to bring up another milestone. And that's the kind of stage that we're at with a 40-year-old who's still banging in goals in Serie A.
I think the commentator said that it was his 92nd Milan goal. So I think he's 8 away from a century, which would be really cool.
And he's actually close to overtaking a couple of players in that as well that are quite illustrious.
Yeah, I would imagine there's not many that are that close to 100.
But yeah,
I mean, the Leao and Ibra partnership is just deadly.
It's fantastic.
And we saw it last season. We saw it at the beginning of this season. We missed it for a big chunk of this season. And then as soon as Leao comes back, they assist each other in back-to-back games. You know,
him and Rebic have a similar partnership, though. But Ibra's just miles ahead of Rebic in skill.
Yeah, and I think Rebic needs a bit more either rest or game time. I mean, he came on, obviously, in this game, but he didn't look fully fit again. And
no,
that's,
he was
no fault of his own. He's been out for a while. But
it's hard when you see Leao come on and just absolutely kill it, and you're like, "Let's go, Rebic!" And he comes on, you're like, "Maybe you should slow down."
Yeah, been injured since the derby, which is
right.
We're coming up to the return leg of the derby now, which says how long he has been out. And the beauty of it is that he's got a perfect rehab assignment on Thursday night, which we'll preview against Genoa. But there's your game where you give Rebic 70 minutes from the start and say, get yourself back into a bit of form, hopefully, touch wood. But yeah, that as you say, perfect link up there for the first goal. And I criticised us a lot last season for being too reliant on our left side, but now we've got those players back functioning. You can see why we were, so reliant on our left side last season. Teo and Leao as well. The link up between those two was incredible. There was a bit of interplay before the square to Zlatan for the first goal, and then the second goal just after half time. I mean, Leao, I love the way that he played that pass, just, threaded the needle between 2 or even 3 players, put Teo in behind, and he just stood and admired it as if to say, yeah, I've played an absolutely brilliant ball there. And then Teo waited for the keeper to commit and just hit it in at the near post. Fantastic. I don't know what else to say apart from when you've got that amount of quality on the field, eventually you are going to create chances like that. And it was the perfect antidote to what had been, I think, a pretty poor 15 minutes before the break. We looked a bit sloppy. We got sucked into their press. We gave the ball away a fair bit. And then third goal, this is the bit that I missed because I wasn't watching, but it was a pretty clear handball on the line and a penalty and a red card. And thankfully Zlatan didn't take it.
Yeah, well, and that was the main talking point for me on that was Zlatan let Teo take it, get the brace, and now he's the only Milan defender to ever get 3 braces. Is that ever or in the same season? I don't.
In a season.
In a season, which is a ridiculous stat. But, it was interesting because after the Roma game, obviously he missed a penalty, and then Pioli came out and said Zlatan will continue to take spot kicks as long as he wants to. And then, of course, the very next game, we get one, and he's like, nah, I'm good. So it's nice to see that, A, he has the belief in the rest of the team now to take that stuff, and B, that he's big enough to admit that that's not his strongest spot, So it shows even growth on his part. Someone who's this cocky, larger-than-life personality, that he's also still a team player and essentially the dad of the team. So, big respect to him. But Teo's the man, dude.
Yeah, stat preservation as well from Zlatan, because he's seen his penalty success rate just decline every time he steps up from 12 yards. So I think he's just, damage limitation at this point. But no, Teo for me is actually probably our best penalty taker at this point. I know Kessié, he's away for a month, so I'm not factoring him into that. But
Kessié doesn't have 100% success. Teo does.
Well, there you go. He nearly didn't. He got an arm to it there, did the keeper. But
I thought he was going to miss.
Yeah, but actually, to put it in the top right, that shows some balls, to say, I'm going to beat you.
I thought he was going to miss. As soon as it started to go up, I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but fair play. That was great. And it capped off with a very, very good performance from Teo. We'd raised concerns right up until the Christmas break about his form after COVID. And how he didn't look sharp. As I say, I think he's one of the players who has really benefited from the break just to get back to full condition. And God, we're a better team for it. There's no doubt about it. And hopefully it coincides with a good run of momentum. I don't think there's anything else to really say. I will say I was spot on about Matteo Gabbia and his breakout season because he was absolutely flawless in his performance.
What about
he had our lowest
Bakayoko?
rating and had a yellow card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we clean sheet, very important. Good for confidence. Did you really have our lowest rating?
Yeah.
Now, one thing I will say is people have sort of generally said, well, we've got by with Gabir and Kalulu, and we did. I think they both performed probably a bit above expectations. To concede one goal across 180 minutes when one of those opponents is a team that's kind of free scoring in Roma, it's all right. We can come out of it and say they've done all right there. They've plugged the gap for the time being. But then if you look at it with a bit of extra analysis, Gabir got spun a couple of times by Zaniolo in the Roma game, and I think he got booked in that one, didn't he? And he got booked in this one as well. He does have this knack for getting spun. He's pretty slow. He's pretty gangly. There's no getting around that. But then at the same time, the balls that were coming in, I think they did a good job, Gabir and Kalulu, and that's all we can really ask of them. We can't if they were the full package, they'd be playing every week. But ultimately, with little game time, with little chemistry, these two had not played together as a pairing before. They've done okay.
I do think Kalulu has a really bright future because he's always every game he's played, bar his debut for us, has been impressive. And I maybe it's because I'm always underestimating him, so he overperforms my expectations. But every single time he comes on, I'm like, wow, this kid can play, and he could do it as a fullback or a center back, which is very important. And that's the type of profile that Maldini likes to go for, is those utility players that can go everywhere. But he's 22, 21, something like that. 21. I mean, he's super young. The sky's the limit. Who knows? Maybe maybe we have our long-term solution already, and we just don't know it yet. I really like Kalulu, and I think as a defender, that's a position that you don't get to grow into as I don't know how to phrase it here, but like a winger or whatever gets a lot longer time to develop because you can win games
gradually.
without them. Whereas a defender, if you start messing up as a defender, you're conceding goals, you're losing, you're not playing. So it's harsh to write a kid off early, like Gabia, who is 22 and is not doing well, but you don't get that luxury in your position. So when you see a guy like Kalulu, who's the same age and he is doing well, then all the more praise to him.
It's like a win. Go on, sorry.
Calabria, who has kind of like had a rocky start, and now he's our starting right back when he's healthy.
Well, and how many times do we try to replace him too? Like we tried to replace him with Conti or whatever. Like Calabria has benefited from being able to develop into it, and early on he struggled with that, and we tried to replace him. It just so happened everyone we signed
nearly sold him to Cagliari for like
legs,
12 million.
Yeah,
which is remarkable to think about now. I think like an opportunity presented itself to Gabia because of all the COVID cases and Kier's injury.
Yeah,
he wasn't expecting it, and from those two games, it might be 3. He might have to play on Thursday night, probably will. We've probably found out he is exactly where we thought he is. He's far from the finished article. He's not a polished defender by any means. And a loan spell could do him good if we were able to get a defender in quickly this month. And that's probably where we all thought he was at. I guess that's it. Any more things of note? I can't think of anyone who really stood out for Venezia. That Bucio, I know you lads are obviously pretty high on him, given that he's American. But I thought he looked.
AJ has no idea who he is.
Decent.
Yeah, I do. That's the guy that Salamakers fouled and everyone got pissy about.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's actually him.
For ages, I thought it was Gian Mario Bucio, which is very, very close to Jan's name, but it's not. It's Gianluca.
Can we just talk about how Bakayoko turned up the last 2 games?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah.
Go for it.
I told you so. That's all.
Okay.
It's funny because I did an article before the Roma game, and it was basically saying I didn't write this; it was in a newspaper. Basically saying that Bakayoko, if you can find some form, can be like a new signing for us, and I hate that expression of a player finding form but it is true. Like if he can get some momentum going, then he becomes an asset to this squad without a doubt. And he recovered from Now, in the game against Venezia, for example, I thought he got a couple of really bad passes. And then what all people focus on is the fact that he gave the ball away. When you're having to do the splits to reach a 10-yard pass from Kalulu or whatever, I don't really hold him accountable for that. And then apart from that, once he really grew into the game and started dribbling with the ball and he started making wise decisions, and he actually looked quite good under pressure, which is not something we've seen from him very much since he came back. I thought he was one of the better players on the pitch. He almost gave us that impression of controlling the game on his own. And God, yeah, that I hope that continues. He's got a couple of games coming up now where, again, he's probably going to have to play out of necessity, but a real chance to put together a run of 7 out of 10 performances and then bang.
Yeah, I mean, these were the games for him to show up, and he did it. Props to him. It's exactly what he needs to do, especially before Juve and Inter back-to-back. We know that those are obviously going to be significantly harder games with a lot more pressure on them. So that's where we'll see where he's actually at as far as mentally and physically. But as of right now, props to him. He did great.
Mm-hmm. And back to the article thing, it was basically saying that when he came on loan in the 2018-19 season, first half of the season, he was crap. Gattuso didn't like him. They'd had a row, for example. And then second half of the season, there you go. He just completely accelerated and looked like the sort of player that we should be triggering the option to buy for, but we didn't end up doing that. He's had a bit of a rough ride since then, but now he's back. And I really hope redemption arc type thing that this second half of the season really does work out for him. Top and flop. Teo, top for me.
Yeah, I think you got to go Teo. It's hard not to.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Leao.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. 2 assists and 2 bloody good assists.
Yeah.
And he looks scary. Like, that's the way that I've always looked at Leao. Like, when he I don't want to say when he fancies it, because I believe he always has it in him. But when he gets in the right situations on the ball, he would just scare the shit out of me as a fullback, because he can either take it inside or he can knock it past you to the byline and you are not catching him. You're just not. He's rapid. And he's got that kind of gangly movement that makes him even harder to tackle without it looking like a Stonewall penalty, as teams are finding out now. God, yeah, having him back is such a resource, and he can be a match winner on his own. And I think it just goes to show, like, Krunic, fair play, he's done a job playing on the left. Salamanca's had his moment in the sun against Empoli on the left side, but just having him there, we are a completely different outfit, and it's nice.
I literally hate this saying, but it's like a new signing.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Put another one on the tally there for like a new signing. That's 2 in the episode so far.
About 4
then.
in the last. I don't know. I feel like every January, Maldini's like, we have injuries. Players coming back. They're like new signings. Shut the fuck up. No, they're not.
Open your wallet, man.
Yeah, exactly. Which, speaking of, did you guys see that well, we'll get to it. Never mind. But
no, go for it now.
We're looking to renew or make permanent Pellegrini and then loan him to Torino for some reason.
Yeah, I saw that.
Cancel that
that's
shit.
Because Maldini likes him.
I don't care how nice he is. He's a bad player, and he's injured. Like, we don't need to do that.
Offload is.
We love players who get injured all the time. Yeah. That's just like our forte.
Or we make them get injured all the time.
Well, it's
the end product that they're eating. The same. Yeah, and then
it's the pitch. That rough pitch Zlatan was saying in his book.
It's Pioli. It's all of them. It's everything rolled into one. My flop for this year. By the way, on the Pellegrini thing, I don't. It sounded like very hypothetical. Said there's like more meetings to come with his agent in the coming weeks to try work something out. So I don't really think. Come on, even we're not dumb enough surely to buy him outright after seeing nothing. He's not even scored a goal. The only way that it probably would be done is for like crafty accounting. So if we sign him for 6 million and then we ended up selling him straight away to Torino for 8 million or something. I don't know, something weird like that.
Yeah, but why wouldn't we just?
We've held on to Conte for how long?
Well, that's because we signed him right away and then put him on big wages and no one could take him.
That's true.
And now we're letting him go for free.
Conte, as we speak, has just rocked up at Sampdoria's
for his
facility for his medical, which he'll probably fail.
He'll probably get injured during it.
Yeah, no, seriously.
They're going to run an X-ray and there's no bones in him. He's just paper.
He's got a bony face, though. A very bony facial structure. Anyway, best of luck to Conte. It hasn't worked out in the 4.5 years that he's been here. He arrived with a lot of hype because I think he was the best fullback / wing back in Italy, in Serie A. Based on
he was Defender of the Year that season.
Yeah, based on that previous season at Atalanta, he looked unplayable. Serious injuries do that to players. They completely derail them. And I feel sorry for him because he's now sort of in his late 20s and, mid-late 20s, and he needs to get something going. And this might be the move for him. Who knows? There is a player in there somewhere. I don't think he's quite as explosive or is ever going to be quite as explosive as he was when he was younger and before those injuries. But he could probably still do a job as a system player. And Sampdoria need all the help they can get at the moment. They just look a very ordinary side yet again. But no, the best of luck to him because he's never said a word out of place. He's always been very, very professional. He went on loan to try get things going at Parma, then they got relegated, so that was that move scuppered. And now, just hope for him that he does well at Sampdoria, apart from when they play us. Flop for the Venezia game. I want to say Salamakers because again he was taken off at half time, having been booked and looked a bit shaky, as I say, like emotionally disturbed more than anything else. He was incredibly fired up. But I'm going to say Brahim, unfortunately.
Yeah, Brahim had a bad game.
That's a good one.
It looked like he was trying to hit a boat with some of his shots because they were going straight to the water. But I do think Salamakers is the answer. I mean, I said it in the chat before he got subbed off. I was like, this is probably his worst game in a while, and that's saying something. And then came off at halftime, and without Gian or Stefano here, it's easy to pick him. So
he's definitely a player who benefits when the rest of the team is in form because they can help cover for his lack of skill. And I think with Leao and Rebic coming back, and then hopefully after AFCON, he'll look his old self that he played the first 2 games of the season.
There has to be an argument at this point, given that Brahim had a little bit of a flash and then has tailed off. Sure, there has to be an argument for playing like a 4-2-2-2 and just let's not play with an attacking midfielder because what's the point? You know, he's not offering anything at all. So do we play an extra body up front and
no.
play Rebic off Ibra?
Our strikers are made of glass, dog. We can't do that.
But what you could potentially do then is get Leao, Ibra, and Rebic in the same lineup. You have Leao on the left and Ibra, Rebic up top together.
Ibra,
that's a lot of
the
threat.
only way that will work is if we have a striker who's fast.
Rebic is pretty fast.
I don't like that idea. I think it's just it's adding too much. If we're gonna change it, just do a 4-3-3, and you take out the attacking mid and put in an extra center mid.
Or Messias as a number 10.
And I'm down with that.
I'm down with that.
Yeah,
because he's
might be
good.
Or Daniel Maldini. Are we at the point where we can honestly say that Daniel Maldini will definitely offer less than what Brahim Diaz does? He needs a goal so badly. I think Brahim.
I think Maldini offers different characteristics. I think his body is better suited for that. Brahim's he's too tiny, and I know that's no fault of his own, but he's not winning the fouls that you would expect him to when he's that small. And I think refs are kind of giving the defenders the benefit of the doubt because of his size. They're saying, well, maybe he's just not strong enough, so he fell over. But a lot of times he's shoved down, and I think it should be a free kick, and it's not given. But that's when the counterattacks happen, and it's costing us. So whether it's his fault or not, we got to do something to change that.
Just not in calories, not junk food. Get on the pizza, chicken nuggets, and burger after games.
I would love to see Maldini get a few games in. I think that he's like in a point where he's still nervous to make a mistake. So when he has the ball, he's going to pass it off instead of trying to do these stupid things that Brahim is doing. And
I agree with that. But the one start we did give him, he scored.
Right.
So, and with the midweek game against Genoa coming up in the cup, that's a good time to start him. See what he's got.
He's starting. He's definitely starting that game. I'm almost certain. I think we'll rotate for that game. I wouldn't be surprised.
Rotate who?
Right.
We barely even have a starting 11.
I bet Rebic will start.
Yeah. I think Rebic will start on the left.
Rebic and Maldini are going to rotate in.
Yeah. Krunic will probably come back in. Maybe it'll be Krunic Bakayoko.
Could be.
Could
be. Ibra's banned.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to think because Tonali's going to miss
suspended from last season's red card against Inter.
That's funny. Yeah.
It
Question,
sort of
because
is.
there used to be something where like league suspensions would play into cup or vice versa. Is Tonali's suspension being served here or no?
No,
Okay, I didn't
No.
think so.
he misses
No.
Spezia, but I think maybe Cup. No, never mind.
No.
I'm wrong.
So it's
Cup
just
applies to cup and league to league now,
Okay.
so it's.
But it used to be otherwise, right?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it
Okay,
used to be
just
able
I
to
think we
serve it.
had this exact conversation last season,
Probably.
Yeah,
I feel like we have it every year.
and we'll have it next year too.
Yep.
That's it. We've done top and flop, haven't we? We can move on to the Genoa game now, actually. As I say, a chance to rotate the players that we can rotate. Not that we're absolutely full of depth at the moment. I don't think we're going to get any of the COVID players back. You know, it'll have only been 8 days, and they've not been training, obviously. So it's probably going to be roughly the same team. I mean, Balotelli's away at AFCON, so we can't even give Teo a break. Tatarishanu has obviously got COVID, so he won't be able to step in for Mignan. The midfield pairing, I mean, you probably play Tonali, don't you? Given that
Is this the game that Moranti finally appears, do we think?
Oh, potentially, yeah. I hadn't thought about that, but that could be good. I don't know why. I mean, it'd just be a token appearance, wouldn't it, at this stage?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I think, you play Tonali probably because he can't play on Monday against Spezia. And then you try keep Bakayoko's form going, I guess. And then is what it is, isn't it? Probably Messias gets the nod in this one. Daniel Maldini down the middle, Rebic on the left, and probably Giroud up top. I don't think we do anything fancy with playing Rebic up front or whatever. But yeah, that'd probably be my team. And then as for Genoa, I mean, Christ, God knows, they're a real mess. As per usual, I mean, they're talking about bringing back a manager for like the 5th different time. Balladini's rumoured to be coming back in before that game. Shevchenko apparently is thinking about resigning and taking the Poland job.
Well, he's going to get sacked if he doesn't resign, so I think that would be a good move. I mean, look, that rumor came out yesterday, and I looked at it. He's had 10 games in charge. He's scored 4 goals. He's lost
personally
almost every single. Yeah,
he should play it at this
they
point.
Have one win in those 10 games, and it was a 1-0 win over Salernitana in the cup. I mean,
that's really bad.
It's awful.
That's
it is
really,
the worst form I've ever seen. And, you know, in his defense, he took over when Destro was out, who I think has more goals than Zlatan this season. Like, he's in fire, but he's been out. And some of their other big players have been out. But overall, like, Genoa over the last decade, no manager should take that job unless they're absolutely desperate for a paycheck. And he left the Ukraine in decently high regard. He could have held out for a different job, a better one. In today's game, especially in the top flight, you need time to grow and develop. And when you're taking over a team as helpless as that, who doesn't give you time, this is the result you can expect. No one should look at this with any shock whatsoever. I understand loving the guy. I love him, but it was a dumb decision on his part to go there. And this is exactly what I anticipated to happen. If anything, it's a little later than I thought it was going to be.
Here's one for you. I'll read off their most recent 5 results. Or is this 4? Oh, no, this is 5. So they beat Salernitana in the cup, as you mentioned. They drew with Atalanta, drew with Sassuolo, and then lost to Spezia, which obviously that last result doesn't look good in the relegation battle. But they're not awful. Like, you know, drawing with Atalanta, drawing with Sassuolo is not necessarily terrible. But yeah, they just can't score, and they're letting goals in. And they Genoa, it's just a guillotine, basically, isn't it? You go in and see if you can get something out of them for 5 games to get them up to 16th, and then you're gone again for whoever was before you because they bring you back in to manage again.
Yeah.
It's just stupid. That being said, tire fire aside, I predict us to win this, but not at an absolute canter. I think we will try to probably get a couple of goals in the first half and then manage energy levels, given we don't have a bunch of substitutions that we can make with players away, etc. 2-0.
3-0.
I'm going to say 3-1 with Maldini scoring.
Nice. I like that. Worth putting on a bet. If only we had an official betting partner. Contact us if you're interested in that. That's
you said that
Genoa
with really like real confidence.
Yeah, a lot of conviction behind that
We've
one.
got a good product to sell here, boys. We really need to be backing it. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the Spezia preview now as well, because the current plan is, and a lot of moving parts, etc. So things might change yet, but we're planning on recording on Tuesday next week. That way, our podcast that we normally record on Mondays isn't out of date a few hours after going out, because that's when we play Spezia Monday night at San Siro.
It would be minutes after going out. I mean,
Yeah.
kickoff is
with
12:30
Maddie
my
on the
time.
audio boom.
Usually the thing's uploaded about 12:15. So
Yeah, 12:15 on Tuesday for Maddie on the Spotify, etc. Sorry, mate. There's no need for that.
I mean, you're not wrong.
No, nice. So here we go, Spezia. Having a fairly nondescript season, would it be fair to say? I think, given they were quite impressive last season. Obviously, they lost Vincenzo Italiano, the head coach. They are currently hovering above the drop zone, but with an okay points cushion of 6 points.
Oh, yeah.
6
right.
points to Cagliari, albeit Cagliari have a game in hand. Their last 3 results in the league, not so bad. They beat Napoli away from home, of course. How could we forget about that? The Juan Jesus own goal. They lost then at home to Hellas Verona, and then they re-established that cushion on Genoa with a 1-0 win at the weekend. So, apart from that, though, they are struggling a little bit.
Team.
Yeah, they've scored 21, let 41 in. They've won 5 out of 21 games. I think it goes to show, as if we didn't know this already, that Italiano was getting quite a lot more out of the sum of the parts. He was the value added to that team last season, and he's doing a good job playing attractive football now with Fiorentina. Just that 6 point cushion alone makes me think that they're not necessarily, destined for the drop or anything like that. And there is still some talented players there, but this, again, I say it every time we have one of these games. If we're serious about winning the league title, this has to be a game where we can cope with absentees and win with relative ease.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look at it right now, and you mentioned they've conceded 41 goals this season. Only Salernitana with 43 and Empoli with 42 have conceded more.
Empoli, that's kind of mad because they're top half.
Yeah, they're just banging in goals. But on the flip side of that, only Inter has scored more goals than we have, and we've scored 46. So, that should tell you right there that we're going to put some past them here.
1-0 then.
Right, it's going to be a scrappy, hard one. Another less than 96-minute bicycle to equalize.
Yeah.
I think this should be pretty straightforward, and I would be shocked if we're not going into the Juve game with just straight wins.
Never mind. Sorry.
I think how we played the last 2 games, the team has got the confidence again. So,
and by then we should have the COVID players back, unless they're still testing positive. And it also depends if they had symptoms or not.
They should be back for that, shouldn't they? Even with the protocol, or I could be wrong.
With the protocol, they should be. It'll be because Thursday's 8, so Friday, Saturday's 10. Jesus Christ, I can't count right now, but yeah. So
I'm just looking here. Empoli's top scorer has 3 goals. That's tough. That's pretty.
Wait,
tough.
What?
Sorry, Spezia's top scorer has 3 goals.
Empoli's been on fire, dog. How that team is producing?
Who's concussed here? Is it me or?
Well, I didn't even catch it. I was like, damn, okay.
I was really confused.
Yeah, I've just randomly gone
3
off
goals,
and started researching
bad, man.
Yeah. Well, they got 3 players on 3 goals, to be fair, but then a 2
That's
and a
9
lot
goals.
of ones. Yeah. They're struggling this year, aren't they?
Just think if Zlatan made his penalties, he'd have more than 9 goals. That'd be
harsh.
Yeah, what would how many has he missed this season? 2 or 3? I think 2, right?
I can only think of 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could be more. No, I think it is 2. Prediction for this one then. What did I say? 2-0 for Genoa. So for Spezia, another home game. You've got to be looking for another clean sheet here, especially if we get some bodies back for the defence. I'm going to have to go 2-0 again.
Yeah, I think we're banging them in, and we're going to keep riding that high, especially with the returning players. So I'm going to say 3-0 again.
I'm going to say 3-0. We'll get a clean sheet.
There you go. I like it.
Nice. Love the confidence, boys.
With a Bakayoko screamer.
I love how you
It's
always
happening,
like
boys.
you make like a good hearty prediction and then you just ruin it with like some ridiculous goal scorer every
Yeah,
time.
but eventually he's going to be right. Law of
Dude,
averages.
I call for a Bakayoko game like
every
every
game.
other podcast.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
And then when it does happen, I'm not going to clip it.
And your success rate is going to be worse than Zlatan's penalties.
Well, it already
He's
is.
getting
So
beat out this episode, isn't he? Like,
One
guy,
for 22
scored,
at this point.
broken loads of records.
I think the only time I was right was when he scored against Inter.
Yeah.
And I missed it. I think it was my wedding day. Fucking wedding.
Yeah, man. I'll clip that.
Yeah, you gotta check the schedule before you plan your wedding. Like you can pick any day you want for your wedding, and you just
That was the day
accidentally
of the
settled on the Derby.
Everton-Liverpool game and the Inter-Milan game.
Well done. Well planned.
Yeah, it was
really good. Yeah. Right, let's do some questions anyway. Christian Espinoza, do you think Leao would start for most Premier League teams? Let's say like 75%. I think he would. He's that good.
Who?
He does Leao.
Oh yeah,
he does strike me as a player who would be pretty damn well suited to the Premier League. I think of him. I know that Pep is apparently a big admirer of him. Probably has seen his exploits with us, and then also now he started, breaking into the Portuguese national team a little bit. And they have some Portuguese players at City. So yeah, I think he's better than like on form at the moment. He's better than like a Sterling. So like he could probably slot in at Man City. Does he start for 75% of Premier League teams? Yes.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Well,
who would he start for?
Who wouldn't he start for? Probably Chelsea, and I think maybe City sometimes. Like the problem is the big Premier League clubs have 2 or 3 world-class 11s, and they just rotate every game.
I'm going to say Liverpool. I mean, Mane is still Mane, isn't he?
That's my fault. I thought he said Serie A. I totally missed English.
He won't start for Milan.
Serie A starts for everyone.
No, that's why I was like, who are the 4 teams he doesn't start for?
No, I mean, obviously he wouldn't start over Richarlison either, would he, Maddie? So
Richarlison doesn't even play. He's injured. So technically he would be starting over him.
My mistake for not keeping up to date on Everton. Luciano Macron. What's with the shuffling of the women's team? And do you think the league can do more to crack down on violent and racist fan behaviour? So we've got two heavy topics to go out there for a Monday afternoon. The women's team, I wanted to read this because I wanted to just mention the women's team are kind of falling apart a little bit. They had a lot of momentum. They got themselves right up into contention for sort of league title discussion. Juve have got a bit of a head start on them there. And now it seems that the head coach, Maurizio Gans, has fallen out with some of the key performers. Giacinti, who's obviously an Italy international, is on her way to either Fiorentina or Roma by the sounds of it. Vera Bouquet is a very good midfielder. She's left. There seems to be a bit of internal conflict going on there. And the club are choosing to back the coach on this because he's like, I guess a friend of Maldini ultimately. Whereas it seems that the most obvious thing, given that his tactics have gone stale and stuff, would be to find a new head coach. So I think everything will come to a head at the end of the season. They'll just ride it out until then. But yeah, it's pretty worrying because we did have some good momentum in the women's team and they were making big strides, but just goes to show that it's got to be built on a solid foundation. And check out the women's section on our website if you want to read up more on that. We've got some great articles out from Steph on various issues related to the team. And can the league do more on violence and racism? Yes, I think is the answer.
Oh, is my okay? I thought you were gonna
I'll let you go with it. I've just rambled on about the women's team.
No, you're fine. I don't have much to say on the women's team because I really don't know what's going on there too much, and that's probably bad on me. But
sexist, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I just don't follow it that much. But as far as racism goes, I think ironically they unintentionally did do something that's going to be successful in removing it, albeit temporarily. This new 5,000 fans thing for the next 2 weeks is only home fans. Home fans, unless you're Juve, are not going to be racistly chanting your own players. So I guarantee until the 22nd, you won't have any racist incidents. and it's
guarantee.
I do. Yeah.
That is. Yeah. No. I see what you mean. Yeah, they've inadvertently done something there to combat the problem. It's
Now, long term,
toxic.
though, you can't just remove away fans.
No.
I mean, it'll definitely make the home field advantage a very real thing. But you can't get rid of away fans. So I don't know how we do it. I mean, you put cameras on the away section, you put microphones in there, and you wait for something, you point them out, and you ban them from life from the stadium. I don't know. You
ever seen the
make
away
it
section
league-wide thing. No.
Yeah, it's literally just like you're gated in, and then there's a load of cameras on poles just pointing in. So I think some grounds are better equipped for it than others. But yeah, they need to stop doing this trivial thing as well of fining clubs when their fans say that they hate the city that another team's from. So Milan got fined because the fans were chanting Odio Napoli, which basically just means I hate Naples. And they've done the same to Atalanta singing Odio Bergamo, and they class it as territorial discrimination, and they give the club a fine for that. And you just think, where's this same energy when it comes to identifying actual racist chanting?
Right.
And it's pathetic, it's pathetic. But then it's not. Then it becomes a bigger, it could be its own special edition episode or whatever. But it's not just an Italian thing. There is racist abuse happening in pretty much every league across Europe. Some leagues are worse than others, but to me, it'll always come back to it being a societal issue where these people feel the need to express themselves in such a way via football, and it's grim. But yeah, I think the league can do more. A lot of questions about Botman. I'm reluctant to talk about him because things have gone cold there. It sounds like 30 million is not his actual asking price. It's more like 50 million, which I think last week, I said 30 million seems a bit low for a player with his potential and to already be established in the way that he is.
Yeah, but I wonder if that asking price is the Newcastle price. I mean, everyone just knows that they got more money than anyone else on planet Earth today. They could pay 3 times the asking price. Whereas if we come in and we make that offer, say 40, we're not going to, but say we do, they'll say, okay, Milan can't spend that much. They're offering a lot. They're serious about it. This is something we value. Whereas if Newcastle's coming in with that same 40, they're like, you can spend 120 and not break a sweat. So I think they take advantage. And you see it with PSG. PSG gets, just rinsed all the time with not good players because they know they can afford it.
Donnarumma.
Yeah, we got to go a lot out of them for that.
Yeah, no, you're right there. I think that there is definitely going to be a price and then a Newcastle price, and so there should be as well. Like if you're shopping from a different cart, then so there should be.
Yeah,
I also think there's a Premier League price.
Yes, 100%.
It's not necessarily like you're an English club. This is our. It's more just we can get more out of you, so we will. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to sell to us over Newcastle because we're more we've got more integrity about our ownership and our negotiations. They might still end up selling to Newcastle for 40 mil.
But he may also not go there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't understand why you'd want to go. It seems like a really sideways at best career move, potentially downwards. Newcastle are shite this season.
They just got eliminated from the cup.
By a third division team, Cambridge. And they were fully deserving of that. Newcastle creating no chances. Like, they are in serious trouble. I would say at this point, it is very likely they'll be relegated. And that's even with, a Kieran Trippier isn't going to make the difference between you scoring the 30 goals you need between now and the end of the season to stay up.
No disrespect to Trippier, but that's not the first signing of a revolution that's really ignites the fire to get big name players. If I was him, I would have stayed at Atletico. If they want you and you're thinking about it, you realize the project, what their ambitions are. Wait until a big name comes, then go. But right now, Trippier's not he's not a difference maker, and B, he's not a big name. So no one's seen that they're serious. Let me join them. They got Trippier. It's like, okay, who else?
Botman, that sealed it for Sven. He's like, it's always been my ambition to play alongside Kieran Trippier. We got a lot of hate, on some of our articles from Newcastle fans, I guess via news now, sort of saying you don't know what you're talking about. Botman wants to join us over you. Milan aren't a big club anymore. And I think, I really hope we beat them to him now.
See, that's the type of stuff that will like put in a deep-rooted hatred for a club. For me, like that's why I hate West Ham so much, is because of one West Ham fan who had like 8 followers was tweeting me shit because of Baca back in the day. And he was like, "We're on the up and up. You're on the down and down." I was like, "We both finished 6th this season," and then
Yeah.
and they've been fighting relegation, and we're where we at. And he eventually blocked me, but I held that grudge, and every couple of weeks I would just go back to some of his tweets and just talk shit to him.
Mm-hmm. No,
Just
respect.
Yeah.
Right, next question. Rocky Award. If you could choose only one this January, what would it be? A, we invest 25 million plus in a long-term solution to a key position, or B, we announce the renewals of Teo, Benacer and Leao. All 3, that is. Quite good, that, actually.
That is a really good one. I'm going to go with a new player because I think the renewals are going to come anyways. I think they're going to come, and yeah, I would just like a new player too.
Mm-hmm.
I would like a new player as well, and I think these players all want to stay, and they're not. I'm not going to say anymore because I don't want to jinx it. So that's all.
Nope, fair. I'm going to say the new player as well. Even Teo said after the game basically that his renewal negotiations are in a good place. Let's hope he's not done a Kessie there and put his foot in his mouth and it's actually all going to fall apart because he wants more. But I think we're looking pretty good on that, and it sounds like there is actual genuine confidence from the club that those 3 get done. New player,
and he got to wear.
That.
Sorry, I was going to say, and he got to wear the armband. I think in November, I started telling you guys that I was being told that renewals were being worked on, and people were laughing at me. And then all of a sudden, every big reporter was saying the same thing. And then all of a sudden, it didn't happen. So I got laughed at again. But we are, and they're still saying like, "No, we're doing it. It's just, the other priorities came up, and we're in a good."
People are still laughing at you, by the way.
Oh, and they'll never stop because I put my foot in my mouth more than I put food in it. So it's all good. But
and the Juve prediction as well.
Yeah,
that's not been forgotten.
Did you predict it also?
He only went after you though, so I'm just sat back like I'll let it happen. I
think I picked Atalanta.
Yeah, which to be fair, they're doing a lot better than Juve. Well, maybe not a lot. I think they're only 1 position above, right?
Yeah, but that's like
there's a gap. I think it's like 5 or 6 points. Yeah.
Bart Jallo asks, how much do you value Kalulu in the current market? I like this question.
Ooh.
Reason being, obviously, we signed him for a free in inverted commas, because we actually had to pay like a 500k development fee, which is just nothing compared to where he's at right now. I love that he's played right back, centre back, and left back this season. It really does show his versatility. And I think if you wanted someone who's become like a symbol of how effective our scouting department can be, picking up this player who's never made a senior appearance for Lyon and saying, trust me, this guy's going to be good. And then he actually does turn out to be good, and he's only 21. What's he worth in the current market? I don't want to go too over the top and say we've got a 30 million player on our hands here. I think probably like a 20 million euro sort of region.
I was going to say 30. I don't think it's that crazy.
I mean, ballpark,
he's technically a one-club man because his first senior club appearance was with us. So I hope he never leaves. For me, he's priceless. But I do think you could get a lot for him. Just like you said, you see the versatility, you see the performance he's put in, you see the age. Eventually, he's going to get a call for the national team, I think. And I could see a team like PSG going in for him. I could see a Premier League team going in for him and paying that Premier premium. So I think 30 million at this exact moment is a very fair price for him.
I was going to say 12 million because I just don't see anyone paying a lot for him because he hasn't done anything. And then I looked up on Transfer Market, not that this is a reliable source at all, and it says 11 million. So.
Right. Good.
Right,
so you're both wrong.
Three of us went over. Okay.
There is a difference, though, isn't there, I suppose, between what is he worth to us versus what is he worth on the market compared to other players in his position. There is a difference there. Somewhere in the middle of what we said is probably right. I think that might be it. That might be the last question. Yeah, that is the last question. Boys, it's been a pleasure. Action-packed episode. As always, we'll be back next Tuesday, as we mentioned, so we can recap the 2 games. Let's hope we get through in the Cup, because I think it's a legitimate chance, getting some silverware this season. And and let's hope that the league run keeps running. Thank you to everyone if you made it this far. Reminder to check out our website for all the latest transfer market news and features and stuff like that. We've just posted the tactical analysis of the Venezia game, so give that a read. Check out our shop. Had plenty of orders in January, which is really nice to see. So thank you for everyone who supports. I've been your host, Ollie Fish. You can find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher. AJ, thank you for joining me with your migraine.
Yep. Torrid 45. It was a good episode. And Eddie Toth.
Yeah, Edward__Tove.
Thank you very much for watching, everyone. We will catch you in 8 days' time.
Eccolo Ante in area di rigore, Ante, Ibra, gol! Vediamo se è buono, ce lo dà buono, ce lo dà buono, ce lo dà buono!